Welcome back to GMP Scenario, presented by PharmaContentLabs.com, where we break down common GMP mistakes, inspection risks, and the small control gaps that turn into big observations.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Imagine a project that just goes perfectly. Without a hitch. The final report is flawless, a real picture of perfection. But what if all that perfection is just an illusion? Today, we're going to dig into something I call the case of the perfect failure. This sentence right here, this is pretty much the heart of our whole story. You've got a team responsible for OQ, or operational qualification, which is really just a formal way of proving a system does exactly what it's supposed to do. And this team, they thought they had absolutely nailed it. And honestly, if you just glanced at their summary report, you'd probably agree with them. And look at this. The results on paper seem to back them up completely. Every single test passed, check. 0 deviations from the plan, check. And absolutely no issues reported, check. This is the kind of result every team dreams of, right? It's clean, it's simple, it's perfect. And that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? If everything looked this good, why on earth are we calling it a failure? What could possibly be wrong with a flawless execution? Well, this is where the story takes a sharp turn, because in regulated industries, looking perfect on paper is one thing, but being able to prove it is something else entirely. And everything starts to change the moment an inspector, or in this situation, the company's own internal QA team, starts asking a few simple questions. And here it is, the turning point. The QA team wasn't just going to take their word for it based on a pretty summary report. They made a very simple request. Show us the proof. They wanted to see the raw, unfiltered, objective evidence that was hiding behind those perfect results. And just like that, the perfect picture starts to shatter. Because when the team went to actually pull together their evidence file, it turned out the proof wasn't nearly as clean as the summary suggested. Key pieces of the puzzle were either totally missing or, even worse, they were invalid. So what did they find? Well, this is where it gets really ugly. And it's a huge contrast to that perfect slide we saw earlier. First off, the tools they use for testing, their calibration certificates were expired. The instruments themselves not even qualified for the job they were doing. The so-called proof they did have, like screenshots, they had no timestamps, so who knows when the tests were actually run. And then, and this is the real kicker, they'd actually run some tests multiple times and only submitted the one that passed, basically hiding all the failures. So you see, the big issue here isn't just some messy record keeping. The entire project failed because it lacked a core, fundamental principle in validation: defensibility. Without it, your perfect results are actually worthless. And this can lead to massive regulatory fines, product recalls, and just a complete loss of trust. So, what exactly is a defensible qualification? It just means that every single result you claim can be backed up by traceable, objective evidence. It means you use tools that were properly controlled and qualified. In short, it's proof that's so solid it can withstand any level of scrutiny from any auditor or inspector who comes knocking. And this chart here really nails the difference. Being good on paper just looks correct and basically asks people to trust you. A truly defensible process is provably correct because it's built on hard evidence. One hides the flaws, the other reveals the entire process, warts and all. And that's why one fails under scrutiny, while the other is built to withstand it. And that's really the final verdict. It does not matter if every test passed. If you can't defend how you got those results with concrete, traceable evidence, the entire qualification is considered a failure, period. And in the real world, this could mean an entire batch of product has to be scrapped or a system gets shut down. We're talking about millions of dollars in costs. So, how do we avoid this perfect failure? How do we make sure our work is always defensible? Well, it all comes down to building a solid case, right from the very beginning, treating every single project like it's going to be audited tomorrow. And it really comes down to these 3 non-negotiable steps. First, prepare your foundation, qualify your tools, and make sure all your prerequisites, like current calibrations, are met before a single test is run. Second, you have to capture everything. I'm talking time-stamped logs, controlled screenshots, and holding on to all the raw data. And third, you have to be transparent. If something goes wrong, you don't hide it, you document it, you investigate it, and you justify any retesting. All right, so finally, what does this case file of evidence actually look like?
Well, the great thing is, if you follow those 3 steps, you will naturally create all the documentation you need to prove your work is defensible.
Think of this slide as your checklist for a bulletproof evidence file. It starts with your approved protocols. That's your game plan. Then, you need proof that you completed your prerequisite checks and that all your instruments are calibrated. Of course, it has to include all the raw data, logs, screenshots, everything. It needs any and all deviation reports, showing you handled any issues correctly. And only then, at the very end of it all, do you have that final summary report, which is now backed by an undeniable trail of evidence.
And that leaves us with one final, crucial question to think about. The next time you see a perfect result, or you produce one yourself, I want you to ask this. Is it just good on paper, or is the proof behind it truly and completely defensible? Because, as we've just seen, that difference is everything.
If this helped, like and subscribe.